UFC Vegas 98, Brandon Royval versus Tatsuro Taira just ended, and this is going to be my full card post-fight. We'll discuss every single fight on the card, and let's just jump right into it. This was a fairly decent UFC Apex card on paper and also how it played out. And this was a card that honestly would have had Tim Welch's head spinning. There were so many double leg takedowns on this card. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, or maybe I'm just like Tim Welch and, now I'm just spotting double leg takedowns left and right now that I've discovered them. But let's jump right into it. We're going to start off with the very first fight of the night. We have Clayton Carpenter versus Lucas Rocha. Kind of a brawl early, both guys having some success. Clayton Carpenter gets a takedown, starts smashing him with some elbows and some ground and pound, cuts him open in the first round. Second round, Lucas Rocha lands a flying knee and then a right hand, but then he gets taken down again. I think it was a double leg takedown again. Clayton Carpenter works to the mount, ends up getting the back of Rocha, and Rocha just can't defend the rear naked choke. Gives up the rear naked choke, deep rear naked choke from Clayton Carpenter, and chokes Rocha out. He doesn't even tap out. He tries to defend, tries to fight the hands. He survives for a little bit, and then eventually he's choked out by Clayton Carpenter. And honestly, my suspicions before this fight were kind of true, because Rocha didn't even he looked small for bantamweight, but now even moving down to flyweight, he looks small as well. Clayton Carpenter looked like he had a size advantage, and I just think Rocha has no grappling. He really doesn't have great grappling. Clayton Carpenter kind of exposed it. Rocha really is only a striker, and he's kind of too small even for the flyweight division, it seems, at least against Clayton Carpenter. He got exposed here in the grappling, really had nothing to offer. Once he got taken down both times, it was done. It was like those double legs surprised him as well. So Clayton Carpenter gets it done. Second round, rear naked choke. Next fight on the card. This is actually a banger fight. We have Dan Argueta versus Cody Haddon. Look, this was a wild fight. I gave all 3 rounds to Cody Haddon. And essentially what this fight was is Dan Argueta kind of throwing haymakers and then spamming takedowns and getting sprawled. And Cody Haddon really putting the pace and volume on him, busting him up. Both guys were really looking to brawl. There was times where Argueta, would get closer on a takedown, or maybe even got a takedown or two in this fight, but Cody Haddon would work right back to his feet. I think Argueta pulled a guillotine in this fight as well, but Cody Haddon was just fresher. By the time the fight, we got to the third round, Haddon was even taking down Argueta. I think in the third round, late third round. I don't remember exactly when. It was at some point in the third round, Haddon got Argueta down and controlled him a little bit, was ripping to the body, maybe even took him down in the second round as well, but just brief moments in time where Cody Haddon would be landing on the feet and then he'd shoot a takedown and have some success with it. Where Argueta, he got maybe 1 or 2, but for the most part, he was just getting sprawled into the mat. So Cody Haddon looked pretty good. Dan Argueta is pretty strong in the grappling, and there was a couple of grappling exchanges. And Haddon just had the better gas tank. I really think that's what won him the fight here, because this was a wild, crazy brawl for the majority of the fight, even though there was some grappling mixed in, and Cody Haddon was just able to get it done. He just out-grittied Dan Argueta. He was the better striker. He had more volume, and the grappling overall, was in Haddon's favor as well. So Cody Haddon gets it done. He wins a unanimous decision. I scored all 3 rounds for Cody Haddon. Next fight on the card, we have Julia Polastri versus Cory McKenna. Listen, maybe this is a hot take. I had all 3 rounds for Julia Polastri. I really did. Worst case, it was 29-28 with McKenna winning the third round. Some judge, I don't even remember what judge it was, had split decision. So they had Cory McKenna. One judge had Cory McKenna winning this fight. The first round was basically McKenna getting stuffed on takedowns, getting beat up in the clinch. Polastri landed a flying knee, he landed some elbows on the fence, clearly won the first round. Second round, Polastri landing on the feet as well, just marching her down, beating her up in the clinch, landing to the body. In the third round, it was similar, but then Polastri got taken down, but there really wasn't a whole lot of damage. McKenna, wasn't really throwing a lot of ground and pound. Polastri was throwing elbows from the bottom. So even the third round, I know people are going to maybe say that's crazy. I thought Polastri won the third round as well. So to have a split decision where you give it to Cory McKenna, for what? For absolutely what? Laying on top, doing nothing, where Polastri won the first, I think it was around 2-minute mark that McKenna got the takedown. So the first 3 minutes, Polastri's winning on the feet. Then she's doing more damage from the bottom. So I scored all 3 rounds for Polastri, but worst case scenario, 1 and 2, Polastri clearly won. The judge who scored it a split, not the judge who scored a split decision, the judge who scored it for McKenna absolutely delusional. Next fight on the card. Oh, I forgot about this. Junior Tafa versus Sharaf. This was one of the most embarrassing displays of mixed martial arts I've ever seen. This fight has convinced me that I could compete in the UFC heavyweight division. This was, all right, maybe this is a bit exaggeratory. This was the UFC equivalent to Kimbo Slice versus Dada 5000. Early Sharaf looked actually decent, super aggressive, landing good shots. Tafa was just kind of countering, landing body shots. Sharaf looked for a takedown. I'm trying to remember. He looked for a takedown early. Oh, yeah, he looked for a takedown early. Tafa grabbed the fence brutally to avoid the takedown. Then Tafa was taken down, but he immediately exploded, like rolled out of it and exploded back up. But then Tafa started to win a little bit on the feet. It was close. And at the end of the round, it seemed like Tafa was starting to get tired. We got a minute left. Sharaf shoots on a takedown. He doesn't even commit to the takedown. He just shoots and pushes Tafa up against the fence. And instead of having to struggle or use any muscle to try to get a takedown, Tafa literally just sits on the ground. The replay at the end of the fight was insanity. And Sharaf's on top in full mount immediately. So Tafa essentially said, you know what, fuck it, I'm not fighting anymore. Sat down, Sharaf's in full mount, and just starts smashing him. But he's exhausted too. We're one round into the fight. I mean, these guys have no cardio. We're one round into the fight. They're gassed at the end of the first round, okay? He starts landing good shots from full mount. The referee doesn't stop it. I'm shocked that the referee didn't stop it first round TKO. Then they come out in the second round, and now because Sharaf has put out so much, damage or exerted so much energy at the end of the first round, he comes out exhausted in the second round. Both are exhausted. Both have their hands at their waist. But Tafa realizes, okay, he's more exhausted than me. And he starts throwing at him. And I realized in the second round, and I wish I was streaming. Sorry for the late stream tonight, guys. It's going to be who falls down first. And ultimately, nobody fell down. But Tafa was landing good shots, and then he back up because he had to catch a breather. And eventually, Sharaf just couldn't defend anymore. He's getting just boxed up, body shots, uppercuts. Tafa's about to have a heart attack, but he still keeps throwing. And then eventually, he lands a shot. I think it was an uppercut that wobbles Sharaf backwards. And finally, the referee steps in before both of them die of heart failure. And Junior Tafa gets a second round KO. Junior Tafa needs to go down to light heavyweight. If he's going to be a UFC fighter, I think he needs to train. And I know people are probably like, Joey, who are you? Who are you? And insert fat joke into the comments. This is their profession. They're professional athletes. Okay? I don't claim to be a professional athlete. And they have 5 minutes of cardio. I genuinely believe you throw me in there in the second round, I finish both of them. I know that's going to tick some people off. They were so exhausted. And I know they were, it was the best, worst fight I've ever seen. But Junior Tafa gets a second round KO because Sharaf, I take it back. Sharaf gets a pass, man. He gets a pass. He took it on short notice. He had Sean Strickland, who was a closeted homosexual, in his corner. But I'll still give him a pass, even though he has a beta male soy boy and Sean Strickland in his corner. But Junior Tafa, there's no excuse for this. Garbage cardio on a full camp. He was scheduled to fight Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett would have beat Junior Tafa, I think, after watching this fight. But let's move on. Next fight on the card, Themba Gorimbo versus Niko Price. What's there to really say about this fight? Themba Gorimbo dominated him. Looking for an early KO, it seemed. Took him down. Some good ground and pound. Took the back. Niko Price had like a crazy kind of Kamaru Usman Khamzat Chimaev slam towards the end of the first round. Then Gorimbo clinching up with him. Got a double leg in the second round. Had some good shots like up underneath the armpit there. Price got up. Gorimbo was kind of getting tired. Price was having some moments. And then Gorimbo got another takedown in the third round. Gorimbo took him down and dominated him in the grappling again. But never really got close to a finish because Gorimbo was tired from all the kind of, especially in the first round, really looking for a finish. But honestly, I was underwhelmed. I know Themba Gorimbo is kind of overhyped because of his backstory and, he's connected to The Rock and all this and that. But, you're getting the dead body of Niko Price and you're going to decision. Robbie Lawler was on his way out and he finished Niko Price. So, disappointed, even though he dominated and he dominated with the grappling. I think Themba Gorimbo winning a unanimous decision over Niko Price in 2024, damn near 2025, is is more of a loss. I mean, maybe that's crazy, but I feel like Themba Gorimbo should have been able to finish Niko Price in this fight. But ultimately, he was not, but he did dominate him. And Themba's in his mid-30s, so it's time to move him up the ladder. It's now or never, which I don't think he's ever going to be able to compete with the elite of the elite at welterweight. So, if you're hoping for that, don't hold your breath. Next fight on the card. We have this is not the first fight on the main card. I was about to say that we got 2 more prelims actually. I don't know why I thought this. Maybe it's because they rearranged the bout order. Jonathan Pearce versus Pat Sabatini. Jonathan Pearce catches a kick, starts moving forward. Pat Sabatini immediately shoots, gets a takedown, gets the back. Jonathan Pearce eventually scrambles out of that, but Pat Sabatini still has his back, jumps on there again, and it's the first back take. He tried to shake him off. He eventually got him back to a clinch back position, but then Pat Sabatini took his back again on the ground. Jonathan Pearce stands up, and he's just not fighting hands well enough. I think it got to the last minute of the first round. He had 4 minutes and 6 seconds. And he's just kind of being lazy in the position. And Pat Sabatini just latches up a rear naked choke and taps him. That was it. I mean, I thought Jonathan Pearce had better grappling than that. I know Pat Sabatini's really strong on the ground, but I was actually shocked at the way he just manhandled Jonathan Pearce. He manhandled him. And there's not really much to say about this fight. It lasted, 4 minutes, but it was just Pat Sabatini dominating him and basically mauling him. Didn't do a whole lot of damage, didn't throw a whole lot of shots, but it was like basically Pat Sabatini was one step ahead of him the entire fight. Eventually wins, standing rear naked choke. Great win for Pat Sabatini. Super deep rear naked choke, but it was like as he's adjusting the hands, Jonathan Pearce isn't even really trying to fight him at all. So Pat Sabatini gets it done. First round rear naked choke. That's one of, I believe I got 2 fights wrong on this card. That's one of them that I got wrong. I picked Jonathan Pearce. Next fight on the card, the featured prelim. We have CJ Vergara, a.k.a. Chelsea Chandler, versus Ramzan Temirov. Listen, CJ Vergara is such an NPC, man. I swear on my life. And I said he's going to pull a Chelsea Chandler again because he pulled a Chelsea Chandler before Chelsea Chandler pulled a Chelsea Chandler. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I mean running for your life. Ramzan Temirov's leaping in with big hooks the entire fight, and then finally one lands. It's a left hook, okay? He leaps in with the right hook, misses, lands the left hook, hurts CJ Vergara. He starts running for his life. At one point, he gets caught with a right hook. He's running. He's turned his back, and he is sprinting away. And he does this 2 times in this fight. He did it in the Daniel Lacerda fight as well. That's the original Chelsea Chandler, so CJ Vergara deserves credit for that. And then basically, Temirov is just sprinting after him, throwing big haymakers. Occasionally, Vergara will throw back. And then eventually, because Vergara is shelling up so much upstairs, Temirov just starts ripping to the body and melts him with a body shot. Nasty finish. First round KO for Ramzan Temirov. And, this guy looks super impressive. I watched some of his footage outside the UFC. But, the physique is kind of one of those things that ain't passing the eye test. And maybe, he's just in excellent shape. But he's reminding me of some of these guys from one championship. So I don't know how long. I mean, new UFC drug testing probably isn't great. But either way, super exciting prospect. He fights like a maniac. He's a wild man. He throws big looping shots nonstop. He's fast. He threw a couple spinning kicks to the body, like spinning almost heel kicks. He threw them in a way that a lot of people don't throw him. He almost threw him like a regular body kick, but a spinning kick and landing with the calf on the body. I think he landed 1 of 2 that he threw, but super fast, super explosive, super powerful, lots of finishing potential. And he destroyed CJ Vergara, which as much as an NPC as CJ Vergara is, he's, a decent fighter, especially in the flyweight division. So Temirov comes in, gets a first round KO. Next fight on the card, the first fight on the main card. We have Daniel Rodriguez versus Alex Morono. Listen, I don't know how. I guess it could. I don't hate the split decision here. I really don't hate the split decision here. But I thought Daniel Rodriguez won. This wasn't really the best fight. It was decent. First round, Morono's kind of exploding, landing good right hands. Second round, it seemed like Daniel Rodriguez decided he was going to pick up the pace, was landing some decent body shots, landing some good combinations. Second round was kind of close. And then the third round, it was kind of similar to the second round, but Rodriguez landed a left hand that hurt Morono and then also had some work in the clinch. So I thought Daniel Rodriguez won 2 and 3, lost the first. Morono was landing the right hand in the first. He was having more variety. and Daniel Rodriguez just kind of seems stuck in neutral in the first round. So I don't hate the split decision because maybe you could give 1 and 2 to Morono, but I would definitely give 2 and 3 to Rodriguez. So I don't love the scorecard, but it's not one of these things you can jump up and down and say, well, this would have been a robbery. But ultimately, I think the right man got his hand raised. At the end of the day, I think, a lot of people want to know, like, what do you think of these guys' future? That's what I always think about when I think of a fight. Not that a lot of people want to know about Daniel Rodriguez and Morono's future. But the point I'm trying to get to here is these guys are just filling spots on cards at this point. And I know that's a lot of people and not everyone can be a champion. But Morono just looks like he's regressed. The whole point I'm getting to is does Morono not look like he's regressed? I used to think he was actually decent. It seems like he's regressed. He seems like I really think it came down to stamina in this fight. Rodriguez turned it on. Morono couldn't match the pace in the second and third round. And, Rodriguez gets it done over Alex Morono. Split decision win, hard-fought fight. Wasn't really impressed with either guy. I think both of these guys are on their way out of the UFC, but Daniel Rodriguez gets it done. Next fight on the card, we have Grant Dawson versus Rafa Garcia. Grant Dawson beat the dog shit out of Rafa Garcia. TKO'd him in the second round. Absolutely dominated him. I'm just going to come out and say it right now. The Bobby Green win was a fluke. Grant Dawson getting KO'd by Bobby Green was a fluke. I'd pick Grant Dawson to beat Bobby Green 10 times out of 10. I guess 9 times out of 10. 99 times out of 100. Because I honestly think Rafa Garcia would probably beat Bobby Green. Maybe not. I don't know. But either way, Grant Dawson came out, took him down. I think he took him down with a double leg. Now, he actually was shooting single legs. Took him down, controlled him, beat him up in the first round. Second round, took him down again, just starts smashing him, cuts him open with an elbow, gets in the full mount, and Rafa Garcia just goes face down, and Grant Dawson just starts ripping elbows, ripping punches. Rafa Garcia clearly doesn't want no more. There's blood all over the cage. I actually missed this fight live. I had to go back and rewatch it. And Grant Dawson just dominated him. And Rafa Garcia actually has decent grappling. It's not amazing by any means, but he actually has decent grappling. So maybe Grant Dawson can make his way back to the top 15 at lightweight. I think it's possible. I'm not going to elevate him to the top 15 just based off of a win over Rafa Garcia, but I do believe that Bobby Green loss was a fluke. It's never going to happen. I'd love to see Paddy Pimblett versus Grant Dawson. I think that'd be a fun fight. I think that'd be very interesting. Grant Dawson, once he gets your back, once he gets top control, he's very hard to get off of you. So it would be an interesting matchup. But yeah, he dominated Rafa Garcia, busted him up, got the finish, second round TKO for Grant Dawson. Next fight on the card, I believe this is the featured fight on the card, which is crazy. Chidi Njokuani versus Jarrett Gooden. I didn't really like this fight at all. Basically, Chidi Njokuani won, I believe, all 3 rounds. Basically, it was a clinch fest where Jarrett Gooden pulled a Jose Aldo and decided he's just going to sit here with his back against the fence and not even try to get out of it. And Chidi Njokuani, instead of kneeing the thighs, he was kneeing to the body. First round was, oh my God. There was like an early scramble where Gooden shot a takedown and Njokuani kind of got taken down, but then they got back up. It was just nonstop clinch. Second round, nonstop clinch with a couple head kicks mixed in from Njokuani. Njokuani wanted to be there as well. And then the third round, I think Goodson had another takedown. Didn't do anything with it. Njokuani scrambled right back up in the clinch again. And then I think Gooden tried another takedown where he was on the he actually had Njokuani up against the fence and pulled Njokuani right into, or not Njokuani. Yeah, Njokuani. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm making a mistake right now. I said I'm making a mistake. But pulls him down in a full mount. And Njokuani doesn't do that much damage or really did any damage from the full mount. But I had all 3 rounds for Chidi Njokuani. Jarrett Gooden should be ashamed of himself. Like, you're just going to chill with your back up against the fence for the entire fight and not try. He wasn't even trying to get out. And I know it's going to piss a lot of people off. That's what Aldo did too. He wasn't even trying to get out. And you can blame Mario Batista all you want. But that's besides the point. Gooden, if there was a cuts video coming, he'd be on it, okay? Chidi Njokuani, I'm disappointed with him as well. I feel like he could have tagged him on the feet. He could have backed out. He was landing some good elbows as well. It wasn't a horrible clinch performance. But yeah, Njokuani gets it done. I had it 30-27. I believe that's what the judges scored it as well. Co-main event. We had Brad Tavares versus the Iron Turtle. Why is this being highlighted right now? Okay, I don't know. We had Brad Tavares versus the Iron Turtle, Jung Park. Jung Park wins via split decision. I think this would have been a robbery if you give it to Brad Tavares. Brad Tavares hurt him with a right hand early in the first round, but then he scrambled up. There were some good striking exchanges. It was close. Both guys were landing. But I had Brad Tavares winning round 1. And then round 2, Park went after him hard in the first 2 minutes, was walking him down, jabbing him up, landed some leg kicks. Tavares would have some success with some big shots, but Yong Park, I thought, clearly won the second round. And then the third round, Yong Park shot it on a takedown. Tavares defended. I think the ref was yelling, work. And then eventually Park got the takedown, got some control, landed a couple elbows, but was kind of in like a weird position where he was moving his head around the armpit of Brad Tavares and like was throwing like these back elbows that weren't super damaging. And I thought maybe they might stand it up, but it was like 30, 40 seconds left. And Park clearly won the third round with the grappling. And yeah, he gets it done via split decision. I don't know why you would give that to Brad Tavares. Like thinking back on it, like you would have to give him first and second. There's no way you could give him third. But I guess it's feasible. I mean, second round was kind of close. But Yong Park, basically, once he got the jab going in that second round, it was like all downhill from there from Yong Park. Even though Tavares would kind of lunge in and land some big shots, Yong Park would roll with him well and take him well. The body language was much better from Yong Park. And I think also he was battering the lead leg of Brad Tavares. It was welted up badly. It limited some of the movement. And I think also helped him with the takedown in the third round. So Yong Park gets it done at the end of the post-fight interview, in the in-cage interview. He's like, I want a top 15 or a money fight. What money fight are you going to get, buddy? What money fight are you going to get? That's what I'm curious about. What kind of money fight you could put Yong Park in? We're going to have him fight Conor McGregor at middleweight? I don't think so. Anyway, Park gets it done. The Iron Turtle wins via split decision. Next fight on the card, the main event. This was a great main event. If you haven't watched it, I highly encourage you to go watch it. We have Brandon Royval versus Tatsuro Taira. This was a close fight. It was a split decision. If it went to Taira, it probably would have been a robbery. It really comes down to the first round. But anyway, I think it would have been a robbery had it went to Taira, especially live. Basically what you had is you had 2 and 4 Taira out-grappled him. He took him down, out-grappled him, took his back, flowed well, controlled him for 2 and 4. I think I might have said 2 and 5, but I meant 2 and 4 if I said that wrong. And then you had 3 and 5. Royval clearly won. In the third round, Royval was just walking him down, beating him up. There were some controversial moments in round 3. We'll talk about that in a second. But basically what it came down to, it was round 1. And round 1, Royval was clearly winning, was landing on the feet. But there was a moment in round 1, like a minute and 20 seconds, where Taira landed a big right hand, kind of stumbled Royval. I actually went back and rewatched round 1. And then went in on a takedown and got the back and got some control. So I went back and rewatched it. I am sympathetic to maybe giving him round 1 if he didn't turn actually hurt him in round 1, but I don't think he did badly. I think it was a combination of the shot plus a slip from Royval. So I think round 1 you have Royval, but it was a close round. Round 2, Taira got an early takedown, had him up against the fence, used both feet to push away from the fence and kind of pull Royval back. Got the back. There was crazy scrambles. Royval was trying to like grab his knee and like shimmy him around, attempt to spin him around to end up on top. And Taira was using like a half Nelson to kind of negate that from Royval. And basically Taira dominated him the entire second round. Not a whole lot of damage, but some decent damage. Round 3, Royval was busting him up early, landing good shots. There was some controversial moments in round 3. There was a fence grab, an egregious fence grab from Royval on a Taira takedown, which I don't necessarily think he probably would have got anyway, but still, the fact that I hate that people get away with the fence grabs. At this point, you might as well kick to the groin, poke to the eye. Oh, by the way, in the first round of the Brad Tavares fight, they stopped the fight for an eye poke. They watched the replay. They said it wasn't an eye poke, but I still thought it was the thumb. But anyway, third round of Royval versus Taira. Basically, Royval's going after him. Taira shooting in on takedowns. There was a fence grab. There were some shots that I thought were to the back of the head from Royval. And then, there were some good elbows, but there was also some elbows that looked like they were close to the back of the head. And then after that, Taira shot in on a takedown. For a second, I thought it might have been illegal. I went back and rewatched that too. It was not illegal. But there was like a half-hearted takedown attempt from Taira, and Royval landed a good knee there. And then within like the last minute, Royval was on top position and decided to go for an armbar. Taira scrambled out, ended up on his back. But clearly third round for Royval. And then fourth round, it's like, okay, Taira's exhausted. He's gassed at this point. Somehow shoots a double leg against Brandon Royval. Royval backs up and immediately gives up his back. I could not believe it. I was flabbergasted. The one position you can't be in and you give up your back. It made no sense. Then he basically dominates him in the grappling again, but doesn't really do all that much damage. He had at one point, I thought he could get a rear naked choke. He had both hooks in and he had trapped Royval's arm. So it's 1 versus 2. And Taira really never even got close to a rear naked choke in the 4th round. In the 2nd round, he actually got closer, in my opinion, than he did in the 4th round. None of them were really super close. But then the 5th round, Taira was just too tired. He got an early takedown, but Royval finally did what his corner said, and don't give up your back no matter what. No matter what Taira did, he did not turn his back to him. They were in like a north-south position where Taira was on top. And then basically what happened is throughout the scrambles in the 5th round, Taira was just too tired. And he couldn't, even though he was 1 step ahead of Royval, technically throughout the fight, Royval was just fresher and he wasn't that far behind. So Royval ends up getting in on a takedown, takes him down for a second, and just kind of controls him. I think then he gets up for a little bit, starts landing on the feet again. Taira's throwing like occasional right hand. And then eventually late, Taira shoots another takedown. Royval pulls a guillotine to mount and then does some damage there, has his back, starts looking for a rear naked choke. Royval clearly won the 5th round. So I had it scored 1, 3, and 5 for Royval. I thought it was pretty clear. And then they give it a split decision. I think it was Saul D'Amato had it for Taira. 1, 2, and 4, which I don't hate again when I went back and rewatched it. But I think Taira is a great fighter. I think he has to work on his cardio. And I think Royval, as scrappy as he is, I was talking about it in my prediction video, as scrappy as he is, man, if you don't have cardio to keep up with that, you're screwed. And that's basically what happened here. He's hard to submit. He's hard to finish. He then says he'll fight Morono or Albazi if one of those guys pulls out. He says he wants a shot at the title. Pantoja, Asakura, who are fighting at UFC 310. That video will be out probably tomorrow. And Royval gets it done, man. Royval, he's a guy that's super well-rounded. You know, he was landing good shots on the feet. He's very aggressive. You know, he's super scrappy on the ground. You know, I feel like he could have done better in the Pantoja fight, so I wouldn't mind them running that back again. But at the end of the day, I don't know where he goes. If Asakura wins, Royval will be right up in there. We could get a Kai Kara France Royval rematch. I think that would make a lot of sense. We could get the winner of Albazi Moreno versus Royval. I know Royval is coming off a win over Moreno in his last fight, but that was kind of close as well. Wouldn't mind seeing that ran back. So I'm a little bit disappointed Taira got killed off as a contender here, but I think he can work his way back. He's super young. He suffers his first defeat against Royval. Royval is a scrappy veteran who's been around forever, who's a very tough stylistic matchup. And at the end of the day, it was a 48-47 loss. I don't think that's a huge blemish on Tatsuro Taira's career when he's in his early 20s. So overall, great main event. Really enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought of the card down in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the split decision in the main event. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.